Okay, so I've taken us into Blackboard. What I'm going to do is I'm taking us into the discussion board section, okay? All right. So you'll notice that I added a discussion board, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. I'm going to scroll down to the parts of speech. So, excuse me. The parts of speech discussion board that was part of your homework to have done before class today was you guys were supposed to take these 5 sentences here and you were supposed to build them up with as many parts of speech as possible. Okay, so we didn't have just the dog ran away. We had a more exciting sentence, you know, something along the lines of, with its tail between its legs, the ragged dog ran away into the night. Okay, so basically, we just wanted you to add some flourish to these 5 sentences. So the second part of this discussion board is you guys will go now and look at your classmates' posts, okay? I want you to respond to 2 classmates. And for this discussion board, all your response is you're going to open up a classmate's post. You're going to look at their 5 sentences, and I want you to try to make sure I explain this so it's nice and easy. So I would open up my classmate's discussion board, and let's say these are the sentences that my classmate had written. So I am going to, I'll write like number 1, and I will see how many parts of speech I can identify in each sentence. So number 1, let's see, its is a pronoun, tail is a noun, legs is a noun, ragged is an adjective. So you're going to do that for sentences 1 through 5. Okay, you're going to see how many parts of speech you can identify. Now, you may be looking at some of them and thinking, oh, I don't know if I know what that parts of speech, you know, that specific one is, and that's fine. Your job is to identify what you can recognize. Okay, does that make sense of what you would need to do for part 2? Take to the chat box and let me know if you are having any issues understanding what I'm asking. Okay. Before we, oh yes, please go.
Do you want the actual number, or do you want the part of speech written in? Like, do you want noun, verb, adverb?
So,
or the actual number itself?
So I'll type up an example in the chat box. Okay, so I'll do.
Okay.
So that way maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. So give me a second as I'm typing this in. Good question, though. Thank you for asking that. Oops. It would help if I could not give you guys typos, wouldn't it? Okay, so I just kind of typed up one example for that first sentence here. So you would write number 1 and then write the word and identify, whoops. Except for I just realized that the first one I put its and I put tail. That's not what I meant to put. I meant to put its and pronoun. So you would identify the word and then identify what part of speech it is. And you're going to go through for all 5 sentences of your classmate's post and identify as many as you can. Okay, so you may, as you're learning and trying to figure this all out, you may only be able to identify maybe 3 or 4 words in one sentence and then just 3 in another. I'm just wanting you to identify as many as possible. And you'll do that for 2 classmates' posts, okay? If you did not do your initial post, I still want you to respond to 2 people's posts. Does that make sense now? Let me know if you guys still need some clarification.
Yes.
Okay. And again, thank you guys for asking questions, because sometimes, my mind, I may, because I've taught this class so many times, I may think that I've already explained something that I have not explained to you. So I want to make sure that you guys know what's up. Now, before we get into that, last week when I made you guys play that really long Kahoot that had all the parts of speech, I know, or I should say, I noticed that one of the parts of speech that was confusing, and actually just is confusing, I'm going to be honest, it's confusing for most everybody, is a preposition. Okay, and prepositions, obviously we can create a prepositional phrase with a preposition, but you need to be able to identify that. So I believe one of you in the chat box had mentioned Schoolhouse Rocks. You guys had mentioned that last week. And I love Schoolhouse Rocks. I was raised on that. That was Saturday mornings. I lived for those. They always played in between the Saturday morning cartoons. Okay. And yes, you guys are adults. I totally respect that. I love that. And I do not mean to insult your intelligence by using Schoolhouse Rocks. That's not ever my intent, but I think they're good videos. Okay. I need things simplified for my mind. I need a visual and I need it simplified. So I love these videos. So I want to show you the Schoolhouse Rocks video for prepositions, okay? So I think I've got to skip because I think, yeah, it starts on adjectives. So let me come over here. All right, so as always, I'm going to play the first couple of seconds. Let me know if there's any connection issues, volume issues, and then we'll go from there, okay? Like a butterfly or like a bee. Okay, how's the volume there, guys? Are you being able to hear it, being able to see it? Give me some feedback in the chat box. Okay, I'm getting a couple of goods, so we're gonna roll with it. And if anything happens, let me know, okay? So this is prepositions. And Schoolhouse Rocks is awesome, but a lot of times the songs go kind of fast. So I will turn on the closed captioning, but experience always says closed captioning is not always 100% accurate. So here goes nothing. These are prepositions by Schoolhouse Rocks. Like a butterfly or like a bee, like an ant as busy as can be. These little words we call the busy peas. Preposition. 9 or 10 of them do most all of the work. Of, on, to, with, in, from, by, for, at, over, across. And many others do their job, which is simply to connect their noun or pronoun object to some other word in the sentence. Busy peas, if you please. On the top is where you are. Relates to where? With a friend you'll travel far. With a friend you'll go. If you try, you know that you can fly over the rainbow. Over the rainbow is where you can fly. Busy prepositions, always on the go. Like a bunch of busy bees, floating pollen on the breeze, buzzing over the meadows, beyond the forest, through the trees, into the beehive. Busy, busy bees. Beyond, over, on, through. Busy prepositions, always out in front. On the edges, in the crack, around the corner, from the back, in between the action, stating clearly to your satisfaction the location and direction. Prepositions give specific information. Though little words they are, they never stand alone. Gathering words behind them, you soon will see how they have grown into a parade. A prepositional phrase with a noun or at least a pronoun bringing up the rear. A little phrase of 2 or 3 or 4 or more words.
Prepositions, attention, forward march. Busy prepositions, always on the march. Like a horde of soldier ants, pitching bravely forward on the slimmest chance they might better their positions. Busy, busy prepositions. In the air, on the ground, everywhere. The sun sank lower in the west. In the west it sank. And it will rise in the morning and will bring the light of day. We say the sun comes up in the east every day. In the east it rises. Busy preposition. Busy, busy, busy. On the top is where you are. On the top. If you try, you know that you can fly. Fly where? Over the rainbow. This is the checkers game.
Okay. So I'm hoping that's a little bit more helpful. You know, prepositions aren't actually the parts of speech that we talk a lot about. We talk a lot about nouns, we talk a lot about verbs and adjectives and adverbs. But prepositions are the ones that are the hardest to locate. Okay. Matter of fact, I think, oh, it wants to make me go to that ad. Okay, let me see if I can fast forward just a little bit. Whoops. No, it didn't go to the right frame. So it lists, let me see, what does it give you? It gives you like 7 of them that we see quite frequently. There's more than just 7, but these are the ones that we see quite frequently. So in, from, by, with, to, on, of. Okay, those are frequently used prepositions. So just a little something to put prepositions in the forefront of your brain, okay? Now, this is what I would like to do, especially in our 8-week format. I do like to try and give us time to accomplish things in class, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have all of you guys, if you have not yet, please open Blackboard and go to the discussion board, okay? I'm going to pause just a moment and give you that opportunity to open up Blackboard and go to the discussion board. We're going to be heading to the parts of speech discussion board. And once you guys have the discussion board page open, can you take to the chat box and let me know that you're there? Whether privately or to everyone, just let me know that you're there or you have it open or however you want, whatever you want to say. Okay, we'll wait for the rest of our classmates here. Okay, just need a couple more of you because I don't want to move on without everybody. If you're having any issues getting to the discussion board, please let me know, okay? And again, I apologize if you can hear the wind in the background or if you hear me rustling papers. Okay, so just in case you are confused, so when you guys first open up Blackboard, it always goes to the announcements page by default. You can always access the discussion board by the link over on the left that says discussion board. It'll always take you there. Okay, so if you click on that, the first one listed is actually a class discussion that we'll get to later. What we want is the parts of speech, which is right underneath it. Okay, so let me know if you're not being able to find that. think we have almost everybody. Like I said, though, I don't want to move on unless I have everyone. Let me just double check here. Whoops. Okay, why is my computer being weird? Interesting. Okay. Okay, so I'm just making sure that all of your classmates are in here. I know there was some issues. Okay, good. We are waiting for, I think, one more, but let's make sure everybody can get there. Okay. So once everybody gets here, go ahead and just click on that parts of speech. You'll see posts from your classmates. Okay. So if you guys remember what I said, I'm just Haley, you're going to be my my example, okay? So if I have to respond to two of my classmates. So I would open up Haley's and I would type number one because I'm going to look at her first sentence and I would say big and like adjective, okay? And then black and adjective. And then dog, is a noun. Ran is a verb. Whoops. Got ahead of my punctuation there. Away. Let's see, ran away. That would actually be an adverb. And then into is a preposition. So I'm just going to do that for all 5 sentences. Again, I don't expect you guys, maybe you're confused about a couple of the words in there. Don't worry about identifying them. Or if you want to try and identify them, but ask a question about it, I will be going through the discussion board. So if you had a question on one of those, I would be able to go through the discussion board and answer your questions. So once I look at all 5 of Haley's sentences and identify as many parts of speech as I can, I would, and please remember this is just the example, okay, guys? I would go ahead and then click submit, okay? And then you see how there's like an okay on the bottom right here? Once I've done that, I click OK, and it takes me right back to the discussion board. And then I would choose another classmates to look at, okay? So you need to look at 2 of your classmates' posts, and you need to go through all 5 of their sentences and identify as many of the parts of speech as you can recognize. Okay, do you have any questions on what you need to do there? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give you guys the next 15 minutes of class to do that. Okay, I'd like to give you some time in class because you're going to have something, big-ish, due tonight. Technically, your response to your classmates aren't due until like midnight tonight, but I'd like to give you the time now so it's something that you don't have to worry about later. Okay. So let's take the next 15 minutes. So let's say by one by 1:10, I'm going to turn my mic back on and bring us all back into class. Okay. So don't leave the class session or anything. Go to the discussion board, and I'll kind of be poking my head in the discussion board as well. So that way, if you guys have any questions on any other parts of speech, I can help you. Okay. A question popped up about the discourse community map. Yes, we're going to be talking about that in length today, which is why I'm trying to give us time in class as much as possible. Okay. So, it might be a little bit like spoon feeding today, but I'm trying to get us in the swing of things, and I'm trying to make sure you guys have plenty of time. Okay, so concentrate on the discussion board for right now, and I will check in with you guys at 1:10. But don't sign out of class. Use the chat box if you have any questions, and I will be popping into the discussion board as well, making sure you guys are doing well. Okay? All right, so hit the discussion board. Back into Blackboard, and let's go to what is going on here? Let's go to our sources folder. Okay, let's look at those two sources that you needed to read for today. Well, again, one of them was a video, so right away, take to the chat box. So the two sources you had to read were the source one selections. Okay, and there was two of them. So the first one was the TED Talk video, What Makes a Word Real? And the second one was The Way You See Color. So tell me in the chat box, did you like one more than you did the other? If you liked one more than the other, tell me which one it was that you liked better. Okay. So it looks like what I'm getting is the TED Talk. Okay. Looks like the TED Talk was the one that was the more engaging one, because that was one where you didn't have to actually do any reading for that one. You just had to listen to her. But I also feel like she knew how to connect with her audience, right? And she knew how to cover information and be entertaining about it. Did she say anything? Did she surprise you with anything about like how a word comes about, how it's accepted? Did you guys she tell you anything surprising? Nothing? Okay. Okay, yeah. Who decides what a real word is, right? They don't just kind of magically pop into the dictionary or any of that. When I first watched this video, I guess I kind of just took for granted how things come about, okay? The making of words from slang to words. Yeah, it was interesting. We do kind of take for granted how language is created around us, like where it comes from. One of the words I know we were talking about in another class that, say, 20 years ago wouldn't have been a word. I mean, it would have been, people would have looked at you like you were an idiot if you would have used it, is the word unfriended. Unfriended is now a verb, meaning to, like, you know, if you're on Facebook and you don't want to follow somebody, but you unfriend them. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how these words come about and then how they're accepted as real words. Okay. So just kind of a really interesting take on words. Okay. Yeah. Interestingly enough, talking about how acronyms are words, right? LOL, YOLO, all of those things are getting put into the dictionary. And it's really interesting to go and look back at older dictionaries. And by looking at those older dictionaries, you kind of get a clear picture of what language was at that time. I have, my grandmother was a school teacher for lots of years. And I have some of her the books that she used to teach from. I have like her primers and teaching writing and all of that. And it's really interesting to see the words that are in those books that have completely changed context to now. Okay. It's extremely interesting. I've never been able to find the article again, but there was a super, super interesting article about how in the Civil War, soldiers, they gathered quite a few letters that soldiers had written to their families during that time. The average soldier during the Civil War probably had a second, maybe third grade education, but they wrote and spoke way more eloquently than we do right now. So it's, yeah. I'm an English nerd though, so I find all that stuff really fascinating. So it's just really cool to see how a word comes about, all right? And then the way you see color, I bet you guys probably never thought about that people describe color differently than we do. Like, it's another one of those things we just kind of take for granted. The words that we have for color are the words that everybody uses, right? That's not the case. Other countries look at them differently. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Because we are going to be using these sources throughout our class time together, we will be, I'll be breaking you up into groups each time we have these sources to do a little discussion, to come up with some answers as a group, and then designating a scribe to post those answers to discussion board. So I'm going to take us back into the discussion board. Feel free to click along with me. So let's go back into the discussion board. Oops. Okay. So I don't know if you noticed when you had gone to the parts of speech, there is a discussion board here that says 329, that's today, class source 1 selections discussion. Okay, so it mentions both the TED Talk and then the way you see color. So I am, let me see how many of us, I'm trying to decide how small I want to make your breakout groups. I think we'll do, I guess, what I call bigger breakout groups today. So there'll be about 3 to 4 of you in a group together. So when you are in your groups, what I want you to do is I want you to discuss, okay, the big 4. And these big 4 are actually covered in chapter 3 of your textbook, which we will get to later. But we have our author, our purpose, our subject, and our audience. We always want to look at those 4 things when we are looking at sources. Okay, it will tell us a lot by looking at those 4 things. So as a group, I want you to do a quick Google search about our authors. Okay. Tell tell us, maybe a fact or something that you found about them? Do you think that there is a bias with them? Then go and look at the purpose of the video or the article, and decide as a group, do you think that the author got their point across as intended? Okay. Look at the subject. So what is the presentation about? What is this article about? What is the main focus? And if you had to sum up the author's main points, what would they be? And kind of figure out who is the desired audience of both pieces, okay, versus the TED Talk and the article. Who is the desired audience? So here's what I want you guys to do. In your groups, designate a scribe, please. Discuss the TED Talk and discuss the way you see color. Give me like maybe a 1-sentence answer for all 4 of those things for each source. Does that make sense? So you'll have 4 sentences basically for the TED Talk and 4 sentences for the way you see color. Okay? Really simple. Do not write paragraphs. This is just an opportunity for you guys to discuss as a group. So the only one that I think you'll really have to do anything for is to maybe do that quick Google search and see if there's anything you can find out about the author. Are they an expert? Have they been known to have bias? Things like that. Okay.
Do we all have to turn in our own or just one person in the group?
Okay, thank you for asking that. Just one person. You all need to participate and you all need to help. But when you are in your groups, designate one person as a scribe, and they will be the individual then that will come and end up clicking on the discussion board, creating a thread, and let's say I'm in group 1, okay? You can see I've done this in my other classes. Group 1, go ahead and type in everybody's names, okay? So that way we know who is in that group. And then if you typed it up on your computer or in your groups, feel free to use your chat box to kind of help each other out instead of just making one person type. You can always do that. So then you would type your answers in here or paste your answers in there. And then, of course, hit submit. Okay, so there's should only be one response for each group. Okay, so we actually only have 2 groups. And you know what? Let's make it a little bit easier on you guys. Since I'm only going to have 2 groups and this is a small class, let's do it easier. Group 1, I want you guys to take what makes a word real, so the TED Talk, and then answer those 4 questions. And group 2, you guys take the way you see color and kind of address those 4 subjects there. Does that make sense? Trying to streamline it and make it easy on you. So the way it would look is group 1 is Ethan, Richard, Stephanie, and Tatum. So you 4 will answer any of these questions for the TED Talk. And remember, we're keeping it simple. Maybe 1 sentence per thing here. 1 sentence for author, 1 sentence for purpose, 1 sentence for subject, 1 sentence for audience. Okay. Group 2 is Haley, Hunter, and Tavia. Okay. Same thing, except for you guys are going to do it for the way you see color. So as a group, discuss, help generate your answers. Make sure you designate one person who is willing to copy and paste your answers onto the discussion board. Okay, does anybody have any questions on what you need to do when I put you into your groups? Okay. Here's what I am going to do. Let's do, oh, hold on, let's see here. Okay, so I'm looking at our time. We're going to take 20 minutes, okay? let's take 20 minutes and discuss in your groups. Remember, keeping it simple. Have your scribe post to the discussion board when you guys are done, and I'll kind of watch the discussion board. So if after 15 minutes both groups have submitted, then I'll bring us back. But otherwise, after 20 minutes, I'm bringing everybody back into the classroom. Okay? All right. I'm going to let you guys discuss, and you can tell each other what you found and what your opinions are. All right? Yep, thank you for whoever reminded me to unpause the recording. We just missed all that. So, any questions on the discourse community map or the literacy autobiography? Now that I just went through all that and the recorder wasn't on. Okay. Let me take you back to here. So this is what we have, everybody. Okay. So by tonight, we need to make sure we have those 2 replies to others on the parts of speech board. If you never got your initial post, make sure you get that in there by midnight tonight as well. You need to submit your discourse community map tonight by midnight. Okay. And then I'm going to push a pause right there. Okay. So I really want you to focus right now in this moment on your discourse community map. Pause and think. Can you guys think of 3 communities, discourse communities that you're part of? If you cannot think of 3 discourse communities, tell me in the chat box so we can brainstorm together. Okay. Okay, the question came across because they're looking at the homework on the screen. Notice it says chapters 3 and 5. Okay, don't read 3, 4, and 5. It's 3 and 5. It's just the 2 chapters. I mean, if you just want to keep going, you can, but I only want you to read chapters 3 and 5. Okay, this is what I want you guys to do. For the next 20 minutes, I want you to go to the assignments tab. I want you to open up the discourse community map folder, and I want you to go look at those examples. See if there's one of them that you want to use as a template. Because remember, you can download any of, remember the 3 examples, download any of those examples and use them as your template. But please make sure you're not using the wording that is on the document. All right. So in the next 20 minutes, I want you to figure out your 3 discourse communities, and I want you to start setting up your map. Set up your map, maybe get some of your 1-page reflection typed up. Just kind of start on it. Get as much as you can done in 20 minutes. Then we're going to discuss just a little bit more, and I will be turning over the rest of the time for you to continue to work. Okay, sound good? I want you guys to be able to kind of get started on this, and then that way if you have any questions, I'm like right here to ask. Okay? So what I am going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this screen. So go into the assignments tab, click on the discourse community folder, open that all up. Feel free to look at the assignment details that we went through. Go look at those examples and get started. And then at 3 o'clock, I am going to ask for your attention again so I can give some last minute details and then give you the rest of the time to work again. Okay? So I'm still going to be right here. Okay? I'm going to be right here. So that way, if you're working on it and you have questions, please let me know. Okay. If you get stumped or you're not quite sure how to do this, remember that the 3 examples that are in that folder are just examples. If you would like to do it a different way, you are more than welcome to. Maybe your map, you want to break it down almost like a bulleted list or something like that. That's fine. That's still a visual we can work with. Okay. So go ahead, get started, work for the next 20 minutes. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and then we're going to go from there. Okay? Okay, kind of finish up whatever it is you're working on, like save where you are, save your progress, so that way nothing gets lost, nothing that you've been working on. Um, so one of your classmates had asked a really good question. I know that some of you are using word processors different than just Microsoft Word, which is fine. But, if you're using Pages, if you are using Google Docs, anything, if you're using any other word processor than Word, it's fine. But when you go to save your document, Blackboard only recognizes 2 formats. It only recognizes a docx format, which is a Microsoft Word document, or a PDF. So in any of those word processing programs, it does give you the option to like save as or export, anything along those lines. That's where you would be able to choose the type of format that you want to save it in. Okay. So if you run into any problems with that, let me know. Now, keep in mind, your discourse community map has 2 parts. Okay, it should all be in the same document. It has 2 parts. You've got the map, obviously, and then you have that 1-page reflection. Please keep it in the same document. If you're really, really struggling and you have to have 2 documents to attach for your assignment, it is what it is, but try to keep it in just that 1 document, okay? So I know some of you had questions while you were working, and I think I answered them all. I've tried to keep up with the chat box. Now that you had that opportunity to kind of sit down and try to start that discourse community map, do you guys have any questions on that assignment? Okay, a question came through, and I'm going to read it out loud because I think this might be beneficial to all of you. So the question is it says, for genre, could you say sports, board games, and school even as a form of activity in which we communicate? Obviously, it depends on the group that you're talking about, but absolutely, sports, board games, things like that could be the genres in which you communicate, which you connect with people, and it'll be different for every other person. Maybe we're talking about a family discourse community. Not all families play board games. Maybe some families play card games. Maybe some families hate games. Okay, maybe they only play video games. So, but yes, those definitely could be genres in which you guys communicate and connect. Okay. Okay. Let me take you guys back into Blackboard. Okay. so then I can give you the rest of the time to work. So I'm just refreshing our memories here. This is the announcement / email that I'll be sending in a little bit to make sure you guys all have it. So tonight by midnight, make sure you finish your 2 replies to others on the parts of speech discussion board. Remember, you're just looking at those 5 sentences, trying to name as many parts of speech as possible. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to have a listing for every single word in the sentence. Just identify which ones you can. And then by tonight, by midnight, I am going to want you to submit that discourse community map. So I'm going to be giving you the rest of time to work on that. But in a moment, let me get through everything. So the map, get the map on there. 1 page, like a reflection of the discourse community map. Make sure you're double spacing it. Okay, we're using MLA format. If you guys are getting confused as you're working on it, remember you can click the assignments tab and click in the discourse community folder and look at the assignment details. There's actually questions on the assignment details. Remember, we went through them all. Try to answer those questions. That will help you get through the reflection. Okay, so that's all due tonight. Before we meet on Wednesday, you guys need to try to review chapters 3 and 5, just the 2 chapters. And then you need to read the 2 source selections in our sources folder. You guys remember where to get those? In our sources folder, I want you guys to read the 2 source 2 selections. Okay, so you guys are going to read how talking about the coronavirus as an enemy combatant can backfire. It's quite a title, isn't it? And then you will also read We Call Workers Essential. So when we meet on Wednesday, we'll be meeting in groups again and using the discussion board. So make sure that you get those read, okay? Beyond that, you guys need to write that rough draft for your literacy autobiography, okay? Again, if you're trying to remember what to put on it, go to the assignments folder, click on literacy autobiography, and kind of follow the questions and the things that it mentions in there. For the discourse community map and for your literacy autobiography, those are all things that are just talking about you, okay? You're focusing on you. It can be first person. You can use slang. It can be totally laid back. So try not to stress about it. Just be yourself. Okay. And then I always put the upcoming stuff. Okay. Remember your literacy autobiography draft, you need to submit it on the discussion board. So once you have that draft ready before class, before we meet on Wednesday, go to the discussion board and you'll notice I tried to make it easy on you guys, and I put that literacy autobiography revision group right at the very top, so you won't have to scroll for it. So go to the discussion board and upload your draft. We're not looking for perfection, okay? And if you happen to be like maybe a half a page short, that's okay. But get your rough draft in there before we meet on Wednesday, because that's something we're going to be working on in class, okay? Do you guys have any questions? Hold on here. Okay, thank you for asking that. So one of your classmates says, if I add an attached file instead of typing in the submission box, will that be accepted? That's actually preferable. Please don't copy and paste your paper in the submission box, okay? We actually want the attached file because we want your full document. If you try to put it in the submission box, it'll probably lose the formatting. So please make sure you attach your file. Thank you for asking that. Do you guys have any other questions on Discourse Community Map or your literacy autobiography? Okay, there's like 10 minutes-ish left of class. Turning that over to you guys, get some work done. Let me know if you have any questions, if you have any issues, any struggles with anything. Otherwise, Feel free to sign out of class, get to work, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Okay? I'm staying here until 3:20-ish, just in case you guys have questions. Okay? Yeah, other than that, get to work. I know it's a lot, but you guys can do it. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you guys Wednesday.